big old one right there. Always a good sign. Alright guys, it is February 28th. My birthday is actually tomorrow. First day of shed hunting for 2021. First real day, I'll say. I brought out a couple of sheds. Figured the best way to find sheds was to bring some. That way you make sure you can find them. No, but I brought out a couple because we've actually found these already this year. I found this one on public. Went out twice about a week ago on public. Went to, for this one, it was a bean field that we knew of. It was standing, a lot of CRP in the area, and we knew there was some good deer in there, but had gotten just tons of pressure. It actually gets a lot of pheasant hunting pressure as well. But with this crazy winter we've had, I knew that there'd be some deer stacked up in there. So I actually went and walked this bean field, and I walked it pretty kind of not very well. And I had both of our dogs with me, and those dogs are not shed hunting dogs, they're bird dogs, and I actually had to keep them on a leash just to keep them in close enough and not worry about losing them. So I probably spent more time worrying about them than I did shed hunting. So I was lucky to even find one. It was just laying right on the edge of the bean field there. Just looked like he had bedded down at night and it had popped off. So pretty nice deer. I'm actually excited to see what he is next year. He should be maybe a shooter, who knows. But it's a place we hunt a little bit. And then this one I actually found in one of our bean fields on the farm. And I was just going out to pull cameras. I wasn't even looking at all. I promised Dad and Trevor that I was not going to look at all, even though we had been seeing. It seemed like it was kind of an early shed deer this year on camera. We had, before season was even over, we had like at least 6 bucks with at least one side already shed on the property. So I had a feeling that I would maybe drive by one, and that's what happened. I drove by it on the Ranger, and I was like, well, I'm going to pick it up. So there was that one, and then this one Dad found at the end of pheasant season. And just a super lucky find, but pretty sweet deer. Not a place we'll ever deer hunt, so there's that. But 3 sheds on the season so far, but this will be the first real shed hunt. And I'm out again today on public. We're gonna start shed hunting the farm next weekend. Will be the first time, and then we'll probably hit the lease as well. It'll take, I don't know, I'd say at least 2 weekends to cover those 2 places, so we should find a bunch there. But this is probably, I'd say, the ideal time to find sheds on public because we've had a bunch of snow. It's all mostly melting. This is like a north-facing slope right here, so there's still some around, but like all the south faces have pretty much melted, and hopefully we'll be able to see them. And after this weekend, I'm sure like a lot of the ground's being walked, so it's could be a good shed year because with all this snow, I'm hoping it forced people not to shed hunt quite as much before the deer had actually dropped. That's always the problem you run into finding public land sheds. This was actually the biggest public land shed I've found, but hopefully I can top that today. I'm in a place that I know has actually has the biggest deer that I know of anywhere, public, private, anywhere. So it's got big deer in here, and I'm guessing it hasn't been shed hunted very hard if it has at all. So there should be some sheds in here. And I bumped a huge buck in here, wasn't able to get a shot during the first day of early muzzleloader season, so maybe I can find this shed. It'd be a close second for, I guess, the awesomeness rating, but I'm pretty fired up, so I'm gonna put the pack on, leave these at the truck, and then get in there and hopefully find some. So I actually found a shed in this waterway, actually right on the other side of this, while coming out from turkey hunting this past spring. So might look here, just see if it could happen again, but it can be kind of tough shed hunting on public land, especially when you have tough winters like we had this year, when you don't have a good, grain food source or a more traditional winter food source for the deer. But my strategy today is just to start on the edges, kind of go around the edges, the perimeter of this public land, and see if there is food left in the crop fields that surround it, because that could give me a good idea on where to congregate. And if there's not, then really there just might not be a good food source in this area. So the next best thing would be to focus on the good natural browse areas and the good bedding areas and the good thermal areas. Probably going to be focusing on the south facing slopes regardless today, just because there's still snow on the north faces, but that's where most of the sheds should be anyway. So it's kind of the strategy today is start from the edge, work our way in, maybe pick each ridge apart by itself. It's just me today, so I got a lot of ground to cover, but pretty excited. Hopefully be able to get a little bit more intel on this area too. We actually haven't done a good job of scouting this place at all. But a lot of times you just find them in these grassy areas too. Wouldn't be surprised. Alright, look at the size of this rub. It's a pretty big rub. Big old one right there, which is always a good sign. And then right up here, there's a scrape in this little natural opening. Nice scrape right there. I'll probably mark a pin here. I just feel like everything around here is so thick. So this is definitely going to be a place where deer and bucks just congregate as they're passing through. Be a really hard place to get in though. Alright, so I'm about an hour and a half into it. I just came upon my first one. Looks like a fresh one. Looks like a pretty nice one. So I'm going to show you guys what I saw. I was just in this really sheddy area getting like just a lot of grass. I figured there could be some in here. A lot of thermal cover, south slope, all the snow's gone. And then I'm working towards that field to start walking that boundary. And I'm just coming down this trail. Right like this. Just looking. I just looked right. It's right in there. Heck yeah, man. It's like a nice 5-point side. I'm gonna get some pictures quick. Definitely one of my bigger public land sheds, and this is gonna give us, I don't put a ton of stock into the exact location where I find shed antlers, but this is gonna give us a leg up because we always struggle in the late season finding where these deer are spending time. So finding a shed like this on a deer that's gonna be a pretty good deer next year gets me pretty fired up. And one thing we always do whenever we find a shed is then we spend a lot of time in the immediate area like gridding it and making sure that we can either find the match set or we just know that bucks are spending time here. And I'm sure this deer was probably bedding. He could have been feeding right here, but this isn't just like a trail, so he was like actively spending time in this spot. So that's pretty cool. There it is. Looks like it's been on the ground a while. Man, that's awesome. I love finding sheds. Didn't get skunked. Here we go. Alright, so I can't make this up. I spent more time here than I should have because I was taking pictures and filming video for this first shed right here. And I just spotted another one. And if I would have just picked it up and moved on, like I was working at a pretty good pace, I probably would have missed it. It's a small one, but it's right over my right shoulder there, and it's pretty sweet. Definitely gonna have to spend more time in this area. Like I was just saying, a lot of times you find them together. That one seems pretty fresh. All right, let's keep moving through here. A lot of sign. Just well, it's been about 2 hours since I last found something. I've covered quite a bit of ground since then, maybe a little bit more. I'm in the area where that huge deer was living last fall, so maybe the sheds will be in here. It's just a really good bedding ridge. Bean field up top, it's picked, but yeah, I think the sheds are probably pretty spread out because they couldn't get to much food, but as you can see, it takes a pretty big deer to make a rub like that. So, was anxiously awaiting getting back to this ridge because that's where Trevor and I both feel like this big deer was living, so hopefully we can find something. Alright, just made it back to the truck, and that's all I ended up with was one good one and one little one. But they were actually about 10 yards apart, so I had about 5 minutes of excitement and about 6 hours of walking around, but it was a fun day anyhow, I think. So, didn't really beat my public land best, but it's about as big, so we'll beat it this week yet. I don't think this is the end of the video, so anyway, catch you next time.